Hello, I'm Mariano, and this is HypoTalk, an experiment that tries to put JavaScript back in the event handlers. So here is the UI. On the left, you have namespaces. You can switch them and create new ones. And on each namespace, you have components. Here is the low code for the component, and here is the live preview. So we have a task list, and a counter, and my new component here, and you can interact with the components, as you can see. And here we have the UI to define the fields for our component, the name. So we can change the name if we want. And then the CSS and the HTML. CSS is just plain CSS. It makes use of nested CSS, which is a new feature. So this only applies to your component. And HTML is just plain HTML with some extensions similar to the ones you see in Vue.js. Like on click, you can see here, or val, some annotations. And as you play with your component, you can add it and modify it. We can see here that we have two events, button on click deck and on click ink. And here I have deck and ink. And let's do that it will increment by 2. So now it will increment by 2, but it can go negative. So let's do math.max, between 0 and the decrement. And if this works, we can increase by 2, and it shouldn't go below 0. So as you can see, you just play with your code and play with the component live. And on the task list, we have a task which is completed, which is a boolean, description, which is text, and has like some flexbox and an input checkbox and an input text. And it has two events: on input set is completed and on input set desk. So we can write our text and disable it. And the two events are set is completed, which set is completed with target value, which is a special variable that has the target value of the component that was the input event. And set desk does the same. These accessors are automatically generated from the name and type of the fields. And finally, a more interesting one is task list, which has an items field, which is of type list, and has, again, some CSS and more interesting HTML. It just renders each item in items, and if items is empty, it will show no task yet, but if I add a task, it will disappear, and on click for the button add will trigger this event add, which just push an item to items. This is an accessor generated for this field from the fact that it's a type list. And here I created an instance of task, which is this element here, which I'm binding over here. So let's do something else. Let's say that these items dot size, if it's odd, then task, if not counter, which I have to bind over here. And if this works, I have my task and my counter. And let's do another one. If these items that size is a multiple of 3, then counter, whoops, I should put like a Monaco editor here. Otherwise task list. And I will bind the component, will select task list and bind it to that name. So now it should add like a task list, and a counter. I don't know, this weird rule I made here, and everything works, even the nested task lists. So you can nest how much you want and go crazy with it. So the idea is that you just write your CSS, plain CSS, HTML, just a little extension on top of plain HTML, and you declare your types here, you get the accessor for free, and UI events. So JavaScript goes only in the event handlers, as it used to be in the 90s. And the idea for next steps is just to let you select the events by inspecting the events available in the HTML. And for this, for the common task of just reacting to an input field and setting the value to a field, I will provide basically an option to just do the thing. basically set the value and input to the value of a field without you having to write the JavaScript, so even less JavaScript. So this is HypoTalk, an experiment to provide an even lower code experience to create components on Glue Data. And if you think it's limited, like this HypoTalk thing is built with the same library, and Glue Data is built with the same library. Also, the plugins of Glue Data are built with the same library, so you can build pretty complex stuff. It's not all exposed in the UI, but it's not much more than what you see here. If you have a question, just let me know. Bye.